Last time. That was terrible.
Cloud is mine! No, he's mine! He is my man! Get away from him, you.
Now, as one of my boys once said, shout out to Zoro, not Zoro from the anime, shout out to Zoro. Let's get it!
Sora, Donald, Goofy, and Sid are in Merlin's house when they feel the ground shaking and run out to see a swarm of Heartless, and now you fight them with Sid as a party member. He uses his spear from FF7 here, and his basic attacks could be recreations of his attack and limit breaks from FF7. But the big difference is that it will be more of a combination attack with the other party members. For example, with Goofy, Sid could use his boost jump limit attack, where in this case Sid would jump from Goofy's shield going high up in the sky and does a downward slam attack with his spear. With Donald, Sid could use his high wind limit attack where Sid would summon rockets while Donald would summon meteors and just goes ham on demolishing everyone in sight. And finally with Sora, Sid could use his brawl limit attack. Sid and Sora would just dash around slashing and impaling all the Heartless through the chest and holding them like trophies.
Why? Because Kingdom Hearts will no longer be a children's game, that's why. We want to see some blood! Eventually. Now while they're all fighting the Heartless Nobody's Anglerverse, their main focus should be to find everyone else because they need to see what in the absolute is going on here? While they were going through their epic set pieces fighting against the Heartless Nobody's Anglerverse, a dark portal appears, and a man in a hood walks out of the portal, and he's opening up his arms up wider and wider, looking like an open arm pose. And then Don will be like, no way! Exio Auditory Differenze! And the hugging man responds,
Dance!
Oh god.
Dance, Water, dance!
Oh god, no! Yes, the hugging man reveals himself to be none other than Demyx. What the hell, man? Well, it's been quite a long time since I've seen you guys. To be perfectly honest with you, I just saw you guys run by and I decided to be like, oh, hey, it's those guys again. Let me just stop by and say what's up. Anyways, Demyx continues talking about him being part of Organization 13, but wasn't chosen to be one of the 13 Darknesses. But the problem is that he just kept on going on and on and on. And like, oh boy, man, just stop talking for once. Who the hell is this clown? Oh, it's no bloody important. Hey, that's rude. Due to the fact that Sora wanted to move on from Demyx, and Demyx was bored and had nothing better to do, since he was Banks after all, he prevented them from advancing any further by having a Demyx boss fight. After the boss fight, Demyx is injured with some blood and does his and then just disappears in the dark portal. Well, that just wasted everyone's time, and with that the gang moves on forward to figure out what the hell is happening. Now while everything was happening with Sora and the gang, we move on to where we see Ventus and Axel and fighting all this entire goddamn army. You play as Ventus and Axel here, and this bit is a scripted sequence because the amount of Heartless is too much to fight off, and you cannot defeat them all before dying first.
And when you do, Cloud appears to your rescue and becomes a party member. And Cloud will be like, hey, do you need some help? This immediately causes a team up between Wen, Axel, and Cloud. And yes, Cloud is in your party. As a party member, Cloud should be able to do his normal attacks such as Slash, Braver, Cross Slash, Blade Beam, and Focus Thrust. And of course, he would be able to use his limit attacks as well. And just like Sid, it should be a combination attacks with Ventus and Axel. For example, With Axel, Cloud can do a dual version of his limited attack Meteor Rain, where they both jump into the sky. Cloud sets up his meteor, while Axel uses Fire Tooth attack from Rechain of Memories, and just starts torching motherfuckers everywhere. Now with Ventus, Cloud can do his limited attack Finishing Touch, where both Ventus and Cloud raise their weapons to generate a huge amount of wind, to the point where the wind that was generated by both Ventus and Cloud combines together to create a giant tornado, which goes around and acts like what a tornado does, being a natural disaster and just swallows everything in sight. In their epic team-ups, they were able to vanquish all the Heartless, Nobodies, and Unversed in sight.
Now, of course, this is a perfect time to get some interaction between the three of them. Of course, Ventus and Axel introduces himself to Cloud, telling them their names, and Cloud just responds,
Cloud.
My, how short and sweet to the point that response was. Anyways, Ven and Axel compliment Cloud on his flying ability, while Cloud just responds,
Thanks, you weren't that bad either. Then Axel decided to ask Cloud if he would join them to deal with the chaos that's been happening in Radiant Garden, and Cloud obviously agreed.
Meanwhile,
as per the last video, we already know that Kairi, Aqua, Aerith, Tifa, and Yuffie were together and were hanging out for a bit near Angsom's castle. But just like what's happening all around Radiant Garden, a huge army of Heartless, Nobodies, and Unversed are going around destroying everything in Radiant Garden. And oh no! They're going after Kairi and the gang!
I know people have been expecting Kairi to be useful in a fight, after all I have been showing that in other worlds. However, I just don't like it anymore, it just doesn't fit in my Nomura vision for the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Let's make her a damsel in distress where she just gets caught by the Heartless willy-nilly. With that, Sora will be furious and the relationship between Sora and Kairi will be even more special than the Pau Pau fruit. Ha 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 ha.
Nomura, no!
But Kairi damsel in distress.
Bag, Nomura! Bag!
But.
That's it, you're grounded. No more Kingdom Hearts for you.
Aw man.
Anyways, while Nomura is grounded, let's discuss what the group is going to be doing. Because without question, Kairi is never ever going to be damsel in distress again while I'm around. Now for this entire Heartless and Nobody and Unversed army situation, this is a perfect chance where you can either play as Kairi or Aqua with Tifa, Yuffie, and Aerith being your party members.
Now as a party member, Tifa can do her basic attacks such as Somersault and Butter Kick, but of course she can do her limited attacks which will be combination attacks with the others. For example, Aqua could use Water Gun on a group of enemies, and of course since the field is damp, Tifa has the opportunity to do her Dolphin Blow limited attack. First she would summon a dolphin to smash through the enemies. Now with Kairi, she would surround herself with light energy and have it focused in one point for one big blast, while Tifa would use her final Heaven's Limit Break, where combined together, it would eradicate all the enemies in that vicinity. Alright, let's move to Yuffie as a party member. Of course, Yuffie will have her basic attacks with her Shuriken and Greased Lightning, but also have her limit attacks, which will be combination attacks with others. For example, with Aqua, Yuffie could use her All Creation limit attack, as this huge blast combined with Aqua's magic attacks, such as Fire-Za, Water-Za, Thundaga, etc. And it becomes a huge massive wall of energy, but honestly, if I was the Heartless, I wouldn't even bother running, cause there's no escaping it. As for Kairi, Yuffie can do her Doom of the Living limit attack, where both Kairi and Yuffie would go dashing around slashing up the enemies left and right, until there's nothing left. As for Aerith, she's a special case because she's more of a support role compared to the others, and doesn't really have much versatility in her attacks. But some things still apply, of course. Like her basic attacks would just consist of using magic with her staff. Her combination would be with both Aqua and Kairi. So in this case, Aerith would use her Healing Wind limit attack to heal and recover both Aqua and Kairi when they're huffing and puffing.
but wait! There's more!
Of course though, there has to be a point where everyone just works together and combines their strengths to work as an actual team. For this to work, they must do the following. Yuffie does her Land Scraper attack, which sends all the enemies to the air. Not the same distance in the air, some will be closer to the ground than others. Tifa does her meteor drive attack to grab those guys in the air and bring them to the sky and slam them back to the ground, along with doing some area of effect attack with it. During the time that Tifa is being in the air doing her meteor drive attack, Aqua comes in and does her Firaza, Blizzara, and Waterza, and Thundaga, all around to prevent the Heartless, Nobodies, and Unversed to attack Tifa while she's in the air. And Kairi would do something.
Anything at all. Please!
Since everyone was already tired, Aerith does her Great Gausswat limit attack, which restores everyone back to full HP and MP.
As the team continuously fights the Heartless, which in this case should be way more in numbers compared to the 1,000 Heartless battles Sora fought for stamina consistency issues, of course, they should start to feel overwhelmed, until Saix and Lexaeus, who are nearby since this took place near Ansom's castle, whatever it's called, and help them out. And yes, this means that Saix and Lexaeus are in your party, which means not only would they have their basic attacks, but also the combination attacks with the others. So for Saix's basic attacks, he would have his arrow, wind shield, and his jump lance attacks. As for Lexaeus, basic attacks would have basic hammer combo attacks and earth ground shock attacks. As for the combination attacks, it should be combined with everyone else for one big swoop. Let's start with Kairi here, because she unlocks a form change during the midst of combat, called the Princess of Hearts, where her entire body will be glowing, filled with the power of light. Anyways, Kairi will create a huge area of effect light explosion attack, which will disturb the enemy's forces.
With that, Yuffie will create a gigantic shuriken, and yes, it needs to be extremely huge, to the point where she has trouble running with it. With that, she would just throw that gigantic shuriken around, slicing through all the enemies that were left alive after Kairi's attack.
Lexus would then do his gigantic earth destruction shock move that he does from Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, and this will send all the enemies into the air. Aqua would then use her spell Weaver finishing move to keep those enemies afloat in the air while damaging them. Then Saix will use his Lance Dragon attack,
while Tifa will be using her Big Fist explosion attack to destroy all the enemies in the air. And for any stagglers that can survive through all that, Aerith will raise her staff and create a huge lightning storm area of effect attack that will strike those stagglers out of existence.
Now during this entire battle, there needs to be a moment where Aqua notes on Kairi's new form change and how impressive it is. And Kairi should feel happy about it. In a sense, this is where she kind of feels that she grew stronger from her form change.
Meanwhile,
of course, just like everywhere else, at the actual goddamn gates of Ansom's castle, Riku, Mickey, Leon, and Zexion all together find the Heartless Nobles and Unversed. And without question, Leon and Zexion are in your party, while you play as either Riku or Mickey.
Now Leon's basic attacks will be similar to what we've seen him do in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, aka his normal slash attacks with his gunshot attacks. With Riku, Leon can do his Renzazuken limit attack. They both combine their blade slashes together to just slice everything in sight. With Mickey, Leon can do his Blasting Zone limit break, along with Mickey's light explosion beams to just create a huge blast radius, where they officially create a crater on the floors of Radin Garden.
And that becomes an official landmark for Radin Garden tourists everywhere. As for Zexion's basic attacks, they pretty much are his magic attacks, while slapping people with his books. Books are for knowledge, boys and girls and children of all ages. Wee, boys! Wee! But his combination attack will be with both Riku and Mickey. You see, Riku will create a dark tornado, which will gather all the enemies together. With that, Zexion will absorb them into his book world, but of course he will absorb Mickey into the book world as well. Inside the book world, Mickey will use his light energy balls along with Zexion's meteor attacks from the sky to just rain down hell upon them all. Now of course, just like what you saw in the previous group together, they have a big combination attack. First of all, Zexion will copy, using his books, everyone's weapons and create clones to attack the enemies with. During that time, Riku would go into his darkness mode and use Dark Aura on all the enemies everywhere. And Mickey would use the power of Disney itself to give him power. So he would say the following, just like he says in Kingdom Hearts 2. Disney, give me power! And he would just use that power to tomahawk everyone in sight.
With all these attacks, the enemies should be scattered but organized at the same time, which is the perfect moment for Leon to use his Lionheart Limit attack to finish the job.
Now, after all the enemies was defeated in the distance, the gang heard a huge explosion and decided to go check it out.
Meanwhile,
After a huge big battle, Kairi and the other groups actually run into Ventus, Axel, and Cloud. And of course, this leads into multiple interactions. Let's start off with Ventus and Aqua, as well as Axel and Kairi. Their interactions shouldn't be too long since they are friends, and they work together for a while. Literally, all it needs to be is
Hi, how are you?
However, one interaction that would be very interesting to explore would be with Axel, Saix, and Lexaeus. I mean, come on, they used to be part of Organization 13 after all. Like, one thing they could talk about is how Axel, when he was young, would try to break into Ansom's castle, and Saix and Lexaeus would always catch him and Saix in the act and kick them out all the time.
But wait! There's more!
Hang on, now we can't forget about the most important interaction. After all, I'm sure all of you have been waiting to see Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa get the chance to finally chat.
Where have you been?
Around.
Around? Around? You know how worried sick we were?
This is where Cloud explains that he's sorry but he had to leave. He sensed Sephiroth's influence within his mind, so he had to leave so he wouldn't hurt his loved ones. Tifa and Aerith both tell him that whatever this is, they'll get through it together. Or some Nomura shit.
Though we want this interaction to last forever, sadly it can't, because another gigantic huge wave of enemies just came rushing in. Now for this to look cool, Kairi, Aqua, Tifa, Aerith, Cloud, Ventus, Axel, Saix, and Lexaeus, wow that's a mouthful, should jump into the air, getting ready to collide with the army, and this causes the big huge explosion that Riku saw. In the distance, not only did Riku and the gang saw the explosion, so did Sora and the gang. And of course, since Sora was worried, they decided to go check it out. Out of nowhere, a huge beacon of light shines down to the ground as a shadowy figure descends down from the heavens, showing off his divinity of greatness as he graces Sora with his presence. Ah, it's so bright! What incarnation is that? No way! It's the actual god of the verse! Top 5 strongest confirmed! It's the supreme deity himself! Nomura-san!
Donald, I have a question for you. Is this a good place to find some ingredients?
Wait a minute, Donald. That's not Nomura-san. That's Xehanort. Xehanort! What the hell are you doing here? Are all these Heartless, Nobodies, and Invoiced? Are they all from you? Well, hello, boy. It's so good to see you again. We had such a great time together. Back when you almost became my 13th vessel. But never mind that. To answer your question, but of course, what do you expect? Well, around the world, you guys have been looking for the 7 lights and 13th darknesses. Well, you already got your 13th according to Larxene. Are you here to mess with the light? Oh no. We don't have our 13th yet. But we will soon. After all, this has been planned since the beginning. You see, my goal has never been to destroy the light. It has always been to maintain the balance between the light and darkness. And the only way to do that is to find Kingdom Hearts. Because with the answers of Kingdom Hearts, it will answer everything. That's one of the main reasons why I'm seeking the Kai Blade and starting the Keyblade War. Because Kingdom Hearts is everything I dreamed about. Everything I wanted to see. everything I wish to know, and I will finally achieve it. Hey, old coot! This whole talk of light and darkness, I just don't give a f. Honestly, I have no idea what incarnation you're talking about, but I'll tell you one thing. If you don't leave Radin going alone, I will put this spear up your ass! You hear me, old coot? You better watch your tongue, geezer. Who are you calling a geezer, old timer? You better stop saying that shit before I come over there and I'll put this shit up and you'll be in the middle so that your mama and that your papa goes sideways.
And of course, Sora, Donald, and Goofy are trying to hold him back.
Ah, I can sense the power from you, boy. The sweet smell of darkness. It's faint, but soon if you keep using that power, it will consume you. Even if there's darkness in me, there will always be a light that will never go out. You got that, Xehanort? Kid, what kind of corny ass line is that? Were you 5? Hey, I'm not 5. It's been 13 years since the last time I saw you. Now while they were all talking, Xehanort sensed a dark presence. This darkness. So he's finally arrived. I guess I better get going. Till next time, boy.
To be continued. No!
Both Sin and Sora would just dash around, slashing and impaling all the heartless through the oh my god, it's dark.
Just say it. Some kind of meme.
And just starts torching motherfuckers. Meanwhile.
That was so good, dude. Okay, Donald screams.